everyone. I see we have all the panelists here. You're all very comfortable. Good. You're most welcome to our Founders event. If you can all hear me, can you all hear me? Salvatore, Christina, Francis.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, can hear.
Great. Thank you very much for joining this session. We're all excited to hear each one of you. We believe you have amazing and wonderful contributions to our session today. And as we wait for our panelists to join in, yeah, we can just familiarize with one another. I think we have only two more people as panelists to join. We're waiting for Nancy and Mr. Nsozi. Karibuni sana.
So hi again. I wanted to say that when we begin the live stream, it would be nice to see all your faces. So Gerald Kafuku, Dr. Gerald Kafuku, and Francis, we would like to see your faces, and also Salvatore, we would like to see your faces. But as we wait for our two other panelists to join in, hi Salvatore. We wait for our other two panelists to join in. You can just put your videos off. Good evening once again. So we've been able to get Mr. Masozi. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, at least
Okay.
now. Okay.
Perfect.
Uh,
So thank
ready.
you all
Yeah, I'm ready.
for joining. Please ignore that. So I wanted to confirm, can you hear an echo as I speak? Or is the perfect
No,
sound? Is
it's
the
clear.
sound?
For me, it's clear.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Okay? Okay, so let's begin our discussion again. Thank you so much for joining. We had one more speaker that we expected would be on the call. Her name is Nancy Sumari, but it looks like she might be running late. She might join us as we continue the discussion. Again, thank you so much for joining. My name is Melissa Sweetbird, Business and Communications Associate here at SmartLab, and I am with my colleague Sharon, who is a Senior Project Associate here at SmartLab. Thank you all for joining this session. So this is a founder to founders event whereby we bring together different people in the innovation industry and in the innovation and technology space. Pretty much founders, whereby we speak about different subjects and different topics, and our audience mostly is usually startups, students, and different corporates. They can be able to understand and learn from you with whatever topic is on the table. So today's discussion is the new era of EdTech. I'm so happy to see you all because you are important stakeholders in this education sector. So without further ado, I would want to, so I will say a name and then you'll introduce yourself briefly, who you are, what you do, so that the audience may get to know who you are. So if that's okay, please give me a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. So I'll start. So I'll just go, I think, in the order that I'm seeing here on my screen. Let us start with Mr. Masozi Nyirenda. Please introduce yourself, your name, what you do, and where you're from. Karibu.
Okay, my name, as you said, my name is Masozi David Nyirenda. Basically, I'm a education specialist, but for the time being, I'm working with Tanzania Education Authority as a manager for education projects, but also I'm coordinating Skill Development Fund, which is a project funded by the World Bank.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction, Mr. Masozi. Nice to have you. Next on my screen, I have Jamie Proctor. Hi, Jamie, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, good to be here. My name's Jamie Proctor. I am originally from the UK. I live in Dar es Salaam, and I'm the country lead for the EdTech Hub, which is a global initiative funded by the World Bank, Gates Foundation, UNICEF, and FCDO.
Karibu sana, welcome. So next we have Salvatore Kessi. Please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Salvatore Kessi, and I'm the co-founder of Smart Class. And Smart Class is an online platform that matches students to low-cost and approved tutors in Tanzania and Kenya. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Salvatore. Next, we have Julia Jengezwa. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Julia Jengezwa, and I am the founding manager of the Dar es Salaam Institute of Technology's Design Studio, which is a maker space on the campus of DIT. And I am hired by Rice University in the USA to run that. Within the DIT Design Studio, I teach young engineering students how to use 21st century rapid prototyping skills to create solutions to problems that they identify within their communities.
Okay, thank you, Julia, for that introduction. Next, we have Christina Murimi. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Christina Murimi. I am the External Communication and Events Manager at Vodacom Tanzania. Vodacom is the leading technology and communication company in Tanzania. We work with different stakeholders, basically focusing on innovation and enabling connections. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. Next, we have Francis Omorogie from Innovate. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Francis Omorogie. I'm co-founder at Innovate Hub. We are a tech venture building innovation hub here in Tanzania with offices in Dar es Salaam and Mwanza, but of course we support tech ventures across East Africa. So basically we work with very early stage startups from proof of concept to commercialization through our venture building fund. So through our portfolio, we help startups to move from proof of concept, equipping them with the right skills, access to market, and access to investment to be able to scale up their ventures. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Francis. So lastly, but not least, I know we have somebody on the panel that was a surprise. Okay, it's a surprise for all of us. So we have Dr. Gerald Kafuku. Please introduce yourself also so that the panelists and the audience can get to know you.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me well? Okay, yes, my name is Gerald Kafuku. I'm from the Tanzania Commission for Science and Technology. Professionally, I'm a chemical engineer, but here I'm working as a director for innovation and technology. And I'm glad that you have this event. They're supposed to be my bosses, the permanent secretary from the ministry or my DG, but they have been busy. And I'm here to represent them. So I'll be having two roles, the role of COSTECH and the role of the ministry. So I think I will be able to clarify some issues if you want. And I think I'll be able to give you the relevant answers that you have. So I'm looking forward to a better discussion, and I'm welcome. Thanks,
Okay.
back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gerald. Glad to have you here. So again, for those ones who might be joining right now, this is the 8th edition of Founder to Founders, and this is Smart Lab. Smart Lab is an innovation hub that aims to create groundbreaking solutions by also connecting different brands in Africa. And we as Smart Lab, we connect different people. So we connect startups, we connect students, and we connect corporates, all under the main objective of creating groundbreaking solutions all that will be able to empower Africa as a continent. So a brief maybe background about the theme of the new era of EdTech that we'll be discussing today. So the rise of EdTech is changing classrooms in a variety of ways, making it easy for students to stay educated and engaged. According to Britta Bridges, as of Q1 2020, there were 210 EdTech startups in Africa, and EdTech startups vary across different sectors. So, for example, massive open online courses, extended reality learning content, gamified learning, examination preparation, and subject-based instructional content, among others. So I think the main objective as to why we are having this discussion, the new era of EdTech, is to highlight different things. Maybe we'll talk about its merits, its challenges, and how the future of EdTech looks like here, especially in Tanzania, for both learners and teachers as all combined. So without further ado, I would want us to deep dive into the discussion since we have all the introductions out of the way. And I will just hand this over to my colleague Sharon to take us through about defining EdTech, what it is. So Sharon, karibu sana.
Hi everyone again. Hi everyone again. Thank you all of you for joining this session. We're all excited to have you from different sectors. This will be a very interesting discussion. And as Melissa introduced me, I'm Sharon Sola from Smart Lab, the Senior Program Associate. And without further ado, I'd like to kick off with our discussion for today. To set the stage, as the theme states, the new era of EdTech in Tanzania. I would like to first define what is EdTech, so that for those who are listening and for the benefit of all of us, to first understand what is EdTech really and what does the term education technology mean, so that we can all have an understanding before we dive deeper into the discussion. So again, to set the stage and to have an understanding from different perspectives, we're going to listen the definition from different industries or different sectors. So we'll have someone from a hub to define EdTech, and then we'll have someone from a development partner, and then someone from the government. So with the order that I mentioned, we would like to start someone from a hub, that is Mr. Francis Omorichie. If you can start, help us to define what do you mean when we say EdTech and what does it comprise, with your understanding, having worked with innovations and innovators in different fields. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sharon. So I think Porto will do like a good work here running EdTech Hub. So for me, EdTech is more like, you know, technology that is powering learning education. So how organizations, institutions are going to leverage on technology to be able to improve teaching and learning, and that can cut across maybe could be for knowledge transfer, it could be the management systems, it could be, you know, every element of education institutions that can be improved or powered by technology. So EdTech is just more like technologies that, you know, where technology is able to power different aspects of teaching and learning in different levels of different layers of educational institutions.
Thank you, Francis. Yeah, so our next person would like to hear from a development partner's perspective, and that is Jamie Proctor. You're welcome. Help us from your understanding, what is EdTech and what does it comprise?
Yeah, so it's a nice starting question. So from I guess the perspective of the FCDO, where I was kind of housed before being in the EdTech Hub, and then also in the EdTech Hub, we've generally not kind of gone too deep on the question of trying to rule things out of it, and have kept a very general view in that EdTech is the use of digital data or technology anywhere in the education system, be that in the ministry, in the classroom, or at home. And I think having that open bounds to it is actually quite helpful. And I think often one of the issues that EdTech has is there is a perception that it's just learning apps for children, and that it means that you can conversations can be a bit more difficult because there is a different perception. But certainly from my perspective, it is that broader digital data or technology anywhere in the education system.
Great. See, you already start having nice insights before we dive into the topic. Yeah, so next I would like to welcome Mr. Gerald, Dr. Gerald Kafuku, in helping us define what is EdTech.
Oh, thank you very much. To me or to us here, we are the ones that are supporting this EdTech, education technologies, and we mean those technologies which are there to support the delivery of education to schools or universities or colleges, even in the informal sector. So we care all the sectors and all the levels of the education. So we mean the soft part, meaning the platforms or the learning materials put online, or the journals, the patent databases, both commercial and non-commercial databases. So we include everything that's there to deliver information for teaching or for research and development. And then we have the other part that deals with engineering, whereby we know there are education technologies which aim to support the physical infrastructure of the students, like bags or the learning system. We call them innovative teaching aids from primary school to universities. So it's a combination of all these things that are there to support the delivery of education, and not only for learning, but also for technology development and innovation. So that's our side. That's little I can talk about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gerald. Yes, that was quite some good definitions that we've had. We've had from Hub perspective, a development partner, and a government perspective. So it's quite a nice platform where we can start the discussion. So I'd like to hand over this next session to Melissa, who will take over on to our first question for the day.
Okay, so let's proceed. The next question is, how can learning institutions incorporate practical technology in the education system? So like we have just heard from our previous speakers, they have given a very good definition about EdTech, what it comprises, and also people think it's just something that kids do. But what can learning institutions right now in Tanzania incorporate practical technology in the education system? So I would want to shoot this question to Julia Jenjezwa. Please give us some insights. What do you think?
Well, thank you, Melissa. I think that the DIT Design Studio is a good example of one way in which EdTech can be incorporated into existing curriculum. Like I mentioned, the Design Studio is a maker space, and my responsibility is threefold. I work with students who are engineering students at DIT to learn digital skills inside the maker space. So they go from the theory that they are learning into the classroom, and they have a space where they have access to 3D printers, laser cutters, all these rapid prototyping digital tools that they can augment the theory that they are learning inside the classroom. The second way in which we help faculty members, and we're trying to incorporate into the curriculum, is I work with faculty members to have courses where the students actually learn digital skills as part of their coursework. So for example, if a student is studying computer engineering, the student would then come into the design studio and learn 3D printing and understand how 3D printing relates practically to the computer science knowledge that they are working on. And then the last part is really integrating into the curriculum. For example, right now DIT is authoring a biomedical engineering curriculum, and we are inside the curriculum authoring work. We're an EdTech partner with EdTech within the curriculum building, within the actual building of a curriculum, having an EdTech representative there who can push for technology, who can push for ensuring that we have outcomes within the existing curriculum that are related towards technology and innovation. So I think giving students hands-on skills within the hubs, incorporating within existing coursework, ensuring that students have digital skills within existing coursework, and then finally incorporating for sustainability within existing curriculum are three ways in which we can ensure that learning institutions uptake digital skills and education technology.
That is a very good way to really preamble this, because I remember, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we were there actually physically at the DIT design studio, and it was really amazing to see how, so there are some things that you really think that maybe this might be too difficult to operate, but when actually somebody like Julia herself as an expert takes you through them, you actually see it's something that it can really be done. So getting something from paper into practice is what learners, what students, what everybody actually needs, putting these things into practice and not just theory. So maybe throwing also this question to Mr. Masozi Nyirenda, tell us, how do you think, how can learning institutions incorporate practical technology in the education system? What is your take on that? Hello, Mr. Masozi. Hello? I think you're on mute. Hello, Mr. Masozi? I think he has a technical issue. Mr. Masozi, can you hear me? Okay, so I think he's facing some technical difficulties. But again, maybe if there is any panelist here who would want to add on to how they think practical technology can be incorporated in the education system, we would like to hear from you.
Yeah, maybe Metripping. Yeah, Asante. I think in the perspective of the ministry and us as the government, we used to encourage the learning institutions, especially from lower level to high levels, to incorporate these technologies for only two kind of four purposes. For lower levels, you mainly find they incorporate these technologies for only learning, to simplify learning, meaning delivering of subjects, kind of those things. But in higher levels, like R&D or universities, colleges like DIT, or we encourage them to both use these technologies for learning purposes. And then there is another part that is not much spoken about, is the using of these technologies for technology development, and meaning that you transform the research results and innovation ideas from students or lecturers into products or services, and that will contribute to the rise of startups and spin-off companies. If eventually goes to implement creation. It's the part that's not much talked about, but recently we have been very much stressing them to do that, because we see they are highly inclined to teaching than tech development. And then the other part is the is to do industrial support. So we love this learning technologies, not only to deliver teaching, but also to be used as part of our national quality infrastructure. So we encourage them to see the laboratories, workshops, and the hubs or whatever to be accredited, and the experts to be certified, in order that these technologies are not only there for students, but also for supporting the industry, especially the young companies like startups and SMEs, which do not have the capability of huge workshops or a capability of employing professors and doctors or researchers or students. So we love to balance, not only for teaching, but also for supporting the innovation. And the last is to use this learning, many practical technologies for delivering, solving national issues and national problems and the community problems. So we believe that these technologies put in the universities or colleges may one day be used by the community around. That's why you see they establishing these innovation spaces, which we support them, we give them, we support financially, technically, but we tell them it's not only for you. You should also welcome the surrounding community like youth to use the innovation spaces or the incubators. So to us, we're interested because we protect national interest. So we do not only allow them to use these technologies for learning purposes, which is very easy, which is very common, but also to balance with the research and the consultancies, which will virtually help the nation. So that's what I can say about the question. And I believe someone from university is here, is doing that. We'll be supporting DIT a lot. They have a lot of our money there. So we believe the purpose, we have given them a lot of equipment. We believe that the support we give them is directed to also the community and not only the students. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Gerald. I believe Julia can attest to that. That is great insights that you've just given. And yeah, I would like to break up what you've mentioned. The practical technologies that are put in the schools or learning institutions or universities will also help to improve or help solve national issues, which is very key to our nation or our country. There are a lot of things that will be solved or tackled in the communities, which is very much needed. Yeah, so after hearing what practical technologies we can learn or what learning institutions can incorporate, we would like to also understand, maybe others might be asking themselves or wondering, what advantages really does EdTech bring? Now, this is directly to the learners. And when we say EdTech, you can also agree with me, we mean on all levels. So we have EdTech from, let's say, nursery. We've seen young kids as young as 5 years old, all the way to 6, all the way to high school, all the way to higher learning institutions. EdTech is implemented in all these levels. And even when you're still working, you can still learn online, you can still find courses, learn. There's all these kinds of certifications, all these master classes. So what exactly does EdTech have that we can learn from, the advantages that we can learn from it? I would like to direct this question to Christina. You can open the floor to answering this question. With the background that you have an e-Fahamu platform that you currently conducting, that is for primary students, secondary students, where there is, you provided materials, they can go there, study, even examine themselves. So tell us the advantages of you having that platform, and just as a whole, EdTech, what has it done to the students and all learners that have benefited from it?
Thank you, Sharon. So for at best, any EdTech solution is designed to make life easier for both the student and the learners in terms of access to resources and planning. So for us at Vodacom, our Ifahamu portal was mostly designed to address the challenges that are currently facing the education sector. If you look at our Ifahamu portal, it has lots and lots of resources. And one of the advantages that it offers is that it gives students the flexibility of being able to access resources at their own time. This means, for example, the challenge of secondary school students not being able to access maybe textbooks. So we have resources in our Ifahamu portal that a student can do their homework and refer to it at their own convenience when they are doing their homework. And this means they also have access to more learning resources that would not be available. It's easier to compare notes when you have the option of resources available to you than if you're only using one textbook. So there's that advantage of having to read at your own time and also to access to lots and lots of learning resources. But another thing we've seen is that our Ifahamu portal has been able to improve collaboration between learners. We have introduced the portal to different secondary schools, and we have received good feedback that students are able to do their work, their group work, their study projects together. So this has really, really helped to increase the collaboration between students. Another thing that we have had is that we have seen another advantage of our portal is that it has provided more immersive learning. Mostly in classes, the students will mostly get notes, but with EdTech, they have augmented reality, there's videos, there's demo infographics. So there's all this that is made available to the learners. I saw an interesting video recently where students in Senegal were able to visit a museum in Paris using augmented reality, and you could see the excitement in their faces. And this really showed that with EdTech, there's no limits. So that is one of the advantages. It gives that immersive learning that is not accessible through traditional learning systems. But another thing is that students are able to receive better coaching and mentoring from teachers. We had one teacher from Takuja Secondary School who was using our platform to teach biology. And he said that the platform made it easy for him to be able to coach the students, to be able to just go the extra mile with the students. And he recorded a pass rate of 80% by using our portal. And these are some of the successes that we as a tech company would like to see. So it gives that flexibility. Another thing that we've seen is that this technology that we're offering prepares the students for the future, for the jobs of tomorrow. I mean, the future is digital. So if we're not giving our students any digital skills, they're not able to access these digital resources. I mean, they're not ready for the future jobs that we're talking about. So for me, I would sum up, these are some of the few advantages that we have seen from our e-learning portal, but we also have another technology called Connected Schools. So Connected School is more or less like a school in a box. We have tablets that connect students and they connect the teacher. So what we have seen is that teachers are able to give a more customized learning experience to the students. And this is something that you will not get with traditional learning, because what is taught in class is what all the students receive at the same time, unless now you seek out private tuitions. But with the technology, the Connected Schools, you can see teachers are able to give a customized learning to the students depending on the pace of their learning. So that's another added advantage that we have seen for the learners. So to sum it up, that is what we are seeing. Those are some of the advantages that we're seeing from our technology that we're offering right now. Thank you.
Wow, great. That is very impactful. Thank you very much, Christina. You're doing a lot of great work, and mostly with the connected schools. And that's the part where even the teachers can be connected, which is something I think we've only been focusing on the students to provide technology, education technology, and learning materials for the students, but also the teachers need to also be provided that connected, and so that we can learn how to better provide quality education to the students. And that is something that we're, I think, missing, but good job to Vodacom Foundation for doing that, and keep up the good work. I would like to also channel this question to Salvatore Kessi, who is a founder of Smart Class platform. You can also tell us more about it and how you think are the advantages of EdTech, having considered that you're already in that, you're doing currently, you have that platform and you've seen how it operates and you've seen the benefits that people are getting from it. You're welcome.
Oh, thanks a lot, Sharon, for that question. Yeah, so from our end, Smart Class, we still really acknowledge the importance of active learning, right? Like we still believe that the interaction between the student and teacher is still really important. And therefore, what we do is we have really developed an interesting algorithm that matches students to talented teachers that they can help solve their challenges. So what do we provide basically is we know students, they have different learning abilities, learning speed. And based on that, we then match them to teachers that match up with their learning speed. And by doing this, we have seen that students have been really improving their performance, and students have been joining, like after the students have spent a couple of times on our platform, their performance has improved pretty much like 4 times than before. And this show the importance of having one-to-one help from experienced student. But on top of this, we have seen like the vision of a company is to try to use technology to mimic as much as possible the physical learning experience that students encounter in their like the physical environment. So on top of having like one-to-one classes, we also have some sort of like group learning where more than one student can come together and they learn from each other, and as well as once they still have some unclear issues, they can click a button and invite a tutor to help them through. So in general, what I can say is EdTech is making it easy for students to learn anything that they want at any time, compared to the time I was schooling, where getting a tutor, you have to probably travel some miles away from your home to get a tutor. But this time around, from just your coach, you can just click a button and get a great tutor that can help you straight away. So that's one advantage that we are giving the students and parents. And on the other hand, from my end at least, is I get very much inspired to see these great tutors making their living through the platform. So you see that they are doing what they love by teaching people, but at the same time, some teachers, they haven't even looked for a job. They just teach the students. They move here and there to teach students, and they're making great income that make them keep living. And this is possible because of technology, that teachers, they're sitting back at their couch and they're making great income that help them to keep living. So I can say EdTech is really empowering both students and teachers. And in near future, we shall expect even more as more technologies coming in, things like metaverse, virtual reality. So we shall expect kids to be able to even learn more and interact more with both the materials as well as the experienced teachers from all over the world. And yeah, and what is even more interesting is these talented tutors will even become more impactful because their talents or their content will spread more quicker to across the globe compared to now where their knowledge or their material is just within a limited boundary of their classroom. So with technology, I see one teacher from a small village probably becoming a powerful global teacher just by the power of the technologies like what Smart Class is currently building. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Salvatore. On the same point you mentioned about teachers, actually, that was my next question. Back to you again.
Yeah.
What do you think EdTech how does it make teachers' lives better? You've mentioned, of course, already how you've enjoyed how these teachers or tutors benefits a lot from teaching online, and some of them just teach remotely. You can earn a living while just teaching online. So just expand on it more. How can these teachers earn or improve their lives through EdTech? Because you already have a platform that does that, and I'm sure you've already impacted so many teachers or tutors.
Okay, sure. Thanks. So maybe we'll explain that based on what we're doing now and a bit about how it's gonna even be more fun in the near future. So at the moment, we empower these teachers, right? So these teachers, they can do more with less resources, for example, right? Before you have to be able to have this massive amount of money to go out there and open a tuition center where you have again to go and start attracting a lot of students to come to you. But imagine this time around, you have to take just like maybe 5 minutes to sign up at Smart Class and set up your profile, and we go through that and approve your profile, and our algorithm push up your profile to a lot of students who are looking for you. So we make it easier for teachers to get opportunities to share their knowledge to a lot of students. And myself, I did like offer tuition when I graduated from high school, but that was very limited in the sense that I could just teach a couple of students around me. But this time around, you can be just a tutor on our platform, but you can be teaching someone who is sitting somewhere in Nairobi, because with technology, you can teach a student from anywhere. And that means that you are even earning more when you are teaching students, let's say, based in Sydney or based in London. So that's the direct advantage that we're giving teacher. We're empowering them by being able to like reach a lot more students with less hassle compared to what I first a couple of years ago. That's one. But two, with the development of technology, what I say is it's going to become way easier for teacher to deliver their content. So think of, for example, a teacher who is teaching, for example, about solar system. So in a couple of years from now, it's going to be way easier because this teacher can put a couple of media together, like animated graphs, and use ideas from things like metaverse or visual reality, and try to teach students with practical examples, and the student will understand even more compared to currently where you teach a student about solar system by using a purely abstract environment, and it makes it harder for students to grasp this concept. So I guess with this technology, two main advantage for teachers is we're going to empower them to, first of all, be able to monetize their talents better. And secondly, we're going to even make them more powerfully in how they create and deliver their content to students in a way that will make students understand more than the way we do at the moment. That's all. Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah, at least it has helped us understand. I wanted to hear from you because you're practically doing that right now, which is very good. Big up for that. And we see smart class growing and even impacting so many other people, both students, learners, and teachers, which is something good.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
yeah, and that's why we need more and more solutions like yours to be developed in Tanzania so that we can grow the EdTech and the innovation ecosystem. So I don't know if anyone has to add from there, maybe Francis from the Hub. I'm sure you also worked with startups who are having different EdTech solutions, or you have seen different solutions that startups have come with. So can you say a word on that?
If I get your question, it's more like how EdTech is improving the experience for teachers, or?
Yes,
yeah?
exactly.
Yeah, so basically, I think one of the things that I think maybe Sabatri also mentioned is it provides like teachers opportunity to teach from anywhere. You can be able to create content. It could be like maybe a content you want to put on a platform, and you can actually be able to make like, no, I won't call it passive income, very active income when people get to subscribe to your course, right? Or your content or your subject, right? So that is something that without EdTech, we can't have this kind of freelance teachers. They can't do that. Except they have to go to one home to the other, which is very hectic and which probably they can't earn what they're earning. And also EdTech has actually, like what Sabat always mentioned, has actually brought out like a way that you can be able to do maybe simulation teaching. So it helps to bring that help students to kind of visualize. So it makes things easier for teachers to actually be able to, showcase something. It could be maybe on biology, reproductive system, or whatever aspect is going to be. When we went to school, it was very imagination, like, they just give you theory, you have to just imagine in your head and maybe look at the image and all that. But right now, with like EdTech platforms, you can actually be able to do a whole 3D or 4D imaging of what you are showing people. So with that, it's very easy for a teacher to explain to the students what information or knowledge he or she is trying to pass across. So that makes it easier for them to be able to pass knowledge, information, especially for the medical students as well. And at the same time, it's kind of helps teachers to be able to reach even more students, because if maybe it's going to be a virtual class, virtual learning, I can actually be able to get like all students from different parts of Tanzania to be part of that training, and they get the knowledge, and you can actually be able to even provide like quiz, monitor their performance in one place. So for example, if you put up like a quiz that is manual, you see maybe you have 100 students, you have to mark them one by one. But at the same time, when you can actually be able to, with EdTech, you can actually be able to set up your questions and set up the answers. So it's purely automated. You see your graphs, you can do analysis to understand the student performance. You can understand where their weak points are, what needs to be improved, and all that. All of this you can actually be able to do on EdTech platforms. So this is a huge relief for most of the teachers, because if maybe it has to be manual, imagine you have like 100 books, 100 exams to mark. So, and you have to start analyzing those things could be very challenging. So I think EdTech is even more of value to teachers and students.
Okay, so I think from what you just said, it's really an advantage for the teachers, and also the joy of a teacher is not only to is basically in teaching, but also reaching a larger audience, or like more students, is actually much more joyful. I saw Christina raised her hand. Did you have something else to add on to that?
Yeah, I had something to add, but Francis has already spoken about it. I just wanted to talk about the ease that EdTech gives teachers in terms of monitoring students' learning, but he's already mentioned that. I think another thing that I can add is the ease that, for example, our connected schools give teachers in terms of preparing for lessons ahead of time, and also the resources that it makes available to them. So it's making the whole process easier in terms of planning and actually the whole teaching thing. But Francis has spoken a lot of that, so I don't want to repeat that already. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Christina. So with that being said, with how EdTech has impacted both teachers, students, and learners, I want us to go to another question that says, so this is, we've heard about the advantages, but now I want us to talk about what needs to be improved in EdTech in Tanzania right as of now. So there are different challenges that EdTech is facing in different avenues. And also when we look at this, how can we look at technology in improving education in Tanzania? So we would want to hear what are the challenges and how can these challenges be improved? So I would want to shoot this question to, let's hear from Jamie first. The country lead from EdTech Hub. Tell us, so what challenges are currently being faced in this sector, and then we can move on with another speaker.
Yeah, so I've got 3 challenges that I've decided to pick. I would say there's quite a lot of challenges in this area, but I've picked 3 of interest. And they are, the first is evidence, and the evidence that things, not just that things work, but they are cost effective. The second challenge I'm going to briefly touch on is around coordination and the difficulties, particularly for EdTech, around coordination. And then finally, I'm going to just talk about some of the challenges kind of interweaving government and private sector in this space where it comes together more often than others. So in terms of evidence, I think it's fair to say there is a lack of evidence, or there is a lack of evidence in how to use digital data and technology in a context like Tanzania to improve learning outcomes in a way that is cost effective. And we see that across the different types of intervention that there are. There isn't the evidence to draw on to say, okay, that works, let's go and do that thing. And so at the EdTech Hub, we're focusing 5 different areas that we see as kind of having the highest potential of being able to generate the evidence to make it an easy decision. And those areas are continuous teacher professional development. And so that links back to the previous question, actually, but being able to give resources to teachers to learn for themselves, as opposed to being used in teaching and learning. The second area is digital personalized learning. And so this is content or applications, I've talked about quizzes, that can adjust to the level of a learner, because we often find there's quite an array of ability in a class. And if you can personalize content with technology, then it can have a big impact. And there's evidence of that on a small scale. There's 1 billion, there's KitKat schools, there's MindSpark in India, there's lots of kind of evidence around that, not about the kind of cost effective side so much. And then the final 3 areas are data, participation and messaging, and then kind of specific interventions for girls. But what I would say is that there are huge numbers of other areas in terms of evidence that are needed. And it needs not to just know that things work, but that there's a way to do it that is A, affordable for governments, and B, cost effective overall. It was better than doing it on paper. And I think once we get over those, being able to prove that, then it's a very easy decision for government colleagues like on the call, on the meeting, to be able to say, yes, we want to do this, but we need to get to that point of having that evidence. And the final thing I would just note, I guess for innovators on the call, one of the journeys that I've personally kind of seen quite closely of how an early stage intervention can scale using evidence is 1 billion, which is a software application that is specifically targeted at standard 1, standard 2 children to help them kind of get the basics of reading and writing. And they have focused very specifically on doing that really, really well. But importantly, they've embedded evidence from the start. So they had randomized control trials at a small stage, even when they were really small. And that's then given them the base to get in lots more funding as they've then moved along to scale. So that's the first point, evidence challenge. Second point, coordination. EdTech, there's a lot of factors that go into making EdTech work, but normally it boils down to a really good product or service that is provided to a user, either an official or a teacher or a student. And that has to happen. But the difficulty is that there's so many different things that come into that. So you've got policy, you've got hardware, you've got kind of political buy-in, you've got materials. And if any of those things break, the service breaks and it doesn't work for the teacher or the student. And it means you've got often expensive kit in a school that's not being used. And so getting that right and the coordination around it is a real challenge, because it cuts across not just the education ministries, TAMSEMI, implementers, but the kind of central bodies as well. And everything has to align. Otherwise, if one thing comes off, then the service breaks and it then doesn't work. So the coordination, I think, is a real challenge. And yeah, really trying to think about that for your product or service. The final point I was just going to talk about was the government and private sector. So, I mean, when you have an education system where budgets for EdTech are mainly spent centrally, it means you've kind of, to go to scale with an innovation, it means there's only one buyer, in that it is the government. And so it makes it really challenging, because you then get into government procurement, and procurement doesn't work very well for technology. Certainly we found, I work in the UK government with procurements on technology, and it's just really, really difficult. So finding ways to break things down from one big national procurement into smaller things gives smaller organizations the chance to come in and to be able to bring what is often more cost effective and more and has a higher efficacy. And the example I've got, well, the main example I use for that is the UK digital marketplace, which was, if you go back 15 years, the UK had 5 companies that ran 80% of government technology services. 5 companies, huge, big procurements, and they were very, very inefficient. And so they set about setting up what they've called digital marketplace, but a way of pushing governments to break down into smaller chunks their procurements. And it's now moved to more than 50% of providers for government are SMEs, small medium enterprises. And overall, it means government gets more of what they're after, and also means that you then get innovation that's able to have a business model. And so another thing for innovators out there, trying to really focus down on that business model and getting that working is really tough when you've got the kind of a big procurement being the only way to kind of scale within government. The final thing, I realize I've talking about challenges. I think the overall way to reduce, for innovators, especially for anybody working in EdTech, you've got to be thinking about reducing the risk attached to these challenges. And that means addressing each of them, but also by using agile, modern internet era approaches to technology and iterating, building and trying again and finding something that works. If you try and plan something out at scale in this space, it's going to, the plans will fail. And so you have to build that in from the beginning. And I think that's the best way to reduce that risk. I will stop there.
Thank you so much, Jamie, for that. That was really an in-depth explanation. So you mentioned mostly 3 things: evidence, coordination, and also the government and private sector the government and private sector coordination. But also, I also want to shoot this question to Julia. I can see you've raised your hand. So if you have maybe one other challenge that you'd want to address, and also how do you think this can be improved? There's a follow-up question that I'll ask after this, but let's also hear from you.
Yeah, so I would say that one place I disagree with Jamie is I agree that evidence is important, but I disagree that evidence will be enough to, I think, enact change within the powers that be. Because my impression is that a lot of the things that block us, the challenges, is not just even with ample evidence. I think that there's a lot of love for existing curriculum and a lot of mindset change that has to happen within, I think, the powers that be to embrace this work. I think even when the evidence is present, and even if with low-hanging fruit, I think that's from my experiences. How do we ensure that the powers that be, whoever are policymakers or decision makers, when the evidence is presented, that there is a mandate that they do change in order to move on. And then I think the biggest, challenge that I experience, we train a lot of students in these EdTech skills, and they graduate with excellent skills. And then they don't necessarily have, I think, an ecosystem or a market where those skills are demanded, and the digital skills that they have, how are we ensuring that they are uptaken? And one thing is, when they try to be entrepreneurs, there's so many barriers to starting your own company, whether it's regulatory, whether it's funding. I mean, even just getting something that you've created to becoming a product is it's so difficult to do. And I think that's really in line with the risk that was mentioned by Jamie before. So I would say, I think going further than just evidence, how do we change the mindsets and make sure that these things are mandated? And then ensuring that these students, when they have the skills, are we enabling them to go further and to be the employers that Dr. Kafuku would do? And I would be remiss to not just mention basic electricity and digital skills. How many students in Tanzania know how to type? How many students have access to a laptop? I think when we think about scale, we also have to think about what is the infrastructure that is existing in the country, and can it take up, if we decide to scale these models, if we have the evidence and we have the buy-in. I think we still have infrastructural, really basic issues that are a major roadblock to the spreading of EdTech across the country.
Okay, thank you so much, Julia. Now, with what you have explained, and also Jamie, I would want to shoot out this follow-up question to Dr. Gerald Kafuku. Now, with the different development partners that we have in the education sector or in EdTech, how do you think they can come in? Like, what role do you think they need to play? So they've identified the gaps. Those are the gaps that they're seeing. So you, as Dr. Gerald Kafuku from the government, what role do you think these development partners can play, and how can they help to fill up these gaps? So we currently have what we are doing, but there are some identified gaps. How do you think the development partners can be able to help to cover these gaps? So what support is needed to the government?
Thank you very much. That's a nice question, because even recently, one of the NGO approached us. They demanded we give them the innovators who are dealing with the education technologies, so that they can put up a proposal to somewhere. What the role is to kind of reducing or support the uptake of this education technologies. That's what I can say much. We have been trying to solve it ourselves, and maybe I'll explain. It's not part of this meeting, but I can just give a tip. The role is to work together, especially to create an environment where these innovators who are dealing with EdTech are getting a kind of de-risking fund, because when you talk about innovation, you talk about business. If they do not go beyond just technology development, then these innovations cannot reach to those desired, like schools or anyone that's interested. So they will have to see that the innovations are coming to maybe proven products which they can commercialize. So what they lack is the fund for commercialization. And all these years we've been trying to ask partners to join hands to support our ideas of de-risking the innovators, in order that they can establish startups, they can grow, and they can replicate, or they can upscale their innovations, that they can sell, they can get money. That's my cry as a government. We are going to pilot next year a fund, which we call it a revolving fund at COSTECH, where innovators can apply for joint venture, and we get into that. And we're glad that one of the development partners, the World Bank, has given us $1 million. through the new coming project in my department. So that's a very nice step. So I urge even other development partners to come in. So we hope this fund will grow big, and we hope this innovation from education technologies will be part of those few ones that I'm trying to see I can pilot. I've seen many which are doing very well, and they have a company or NGOs. So I would like to see more from your side. If you have ideas, you can share with us. But my request to DPs is that let's join hands. I thank the UNDP for the coming Fungo project, which we also part of it. We believe that those kind of efforts to put in place funding mechanism for tech development, funding mechanism for commercialization, and upscaling, that will help these innovators. And it will come up with, many people come up with these ideas, I believe. But now they may not be coming up with ideas because they do not know that the ideas can be used, or the ideas can be uptaken by the community or their potential business partners. So for DPs, that's my request. And I thank those who have already started showing the way, like UNDP, the World Bank, which are giving us hands to make sure that we support these EdTech innovations. For the time being, I can say that, and I believe that we as the government, we support and we give good environment. We're ready to take those innovations into our education systems. Through COSTECH, we can be referred to any place that you think your innovation can work, and we've been supporting many. And I believe that the ones which are doing very good, like Shule Direct, the Soma Tanzania, which we give them support. We also influence others like you. I did not know you, so maybe you can also be part of the next many of the future support from our office. Thank you for that. I think I've tried to explain a little bit. Maybe there'll be more explanations, but for now I can end up there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gerald Kafuku. Actually, this is a good platform because it has not only been able to join us with the viewers, but also as the panelists, we are in a space whereby we can get to know each other well. So Mr. Masozi Nyirenda has raised his hand. I think he has something to add on to what you said. So please, Mr. Masozi, go ahead.
Okay, hello. I appreciate for all the contributions which have been given by all the participants. I think has been very rich. Sorry, maybe I'll take you back. I have one or two things on the issues of challenges, and also I'll also comment on the role of development partners on this issue of EdTech. To me, in the course of interaction with various people, teachers, and so on, I think one of the areas of challenge is the content creation. I mean, most of the teachers, they say that most of these initiatives are using the contents which are not local. They are content which are coming from abroad, and sometimes they are not relevant to the socioeconomic and cultural context, and they are a little bit disconnected from the real involvement of the students, and the content often may not be understood, but also may not apply or address the skills needed within the communities. So I think this is one of the areas which we need to look into. And although I've seen several efforts, for example, there's Obongo Kids, which is basically like a local content, and there are others which I've also seen. But I think if we do that more, ensuring that we connect, because we shouldn't look at the urban setting, but also we look also in the rural setting, whereby, and also the need that after obtaining the skills, we need these students, our trainees, to work within the environment. Could be in terms of national environment, or to be in their local context, to solve challenges facing them. I think that's one of the areas which I think we also need to talk. But another challenge is on the issue of sustainability of these initiatives. And we've seen some of these initiatives, some of them were national initiatives, some of them are local initiatives, but sustainability were a little bit, most of these projects are project-based, and some of these initiatives die away after maybe the end of the donor funding. So I think we also need to think of the sustainability of this initiative beyond maybe project financing. How are we going to do that? There's another issue which I think we have not discussed here on the side of the users, because parents and the house and members of the households somehow incur a little bit of the cost on the issues of connectivity. For example, issues of internet connectivity, the cost of internet connectivity. We remember recently there was a I think last year or early this year, there was a lot of discussion on the amount of money which people are paying for the bundles, for the internet bundles. So we could also look into that and see how much it can affect accessibility. On the issue of the role of development partners, I would wish to say that as the previous speaker said, I concur with him on the issue of most of the partners have been in the forefront on supporting either full funding or co-financing EdTech projects. But also I would call for them to also take the role of policy lobbying and advocacy. They should also play the role of lobbying and advocacy on the areas which we think that need to either be improved. And as the other speaker said, that we should also have evidence which we can use to do lobbying and advocacy. But we have seen also that development partners and other private sector players have been pioneers in introducing EdTech initiatives. You find that all these initiatives, most of them have been, pioneered and pushed by private companies or by donors. So development partners could also continue doing pioneers if there are any other new innovations or new initiatives. There's a role of stimulation of innovation and creativity, as I said before, including creation of local content. And as the other person has also said, on how they can also support to ensure that there's absorption of innovations into commercial products. I think that's all I wanted to share with you.
Actually, you made very good points. And I think one of the next follow-up questions that I had is I want to talk about how are policies in Tanzania helpful and also maybe a bit of a challenge in implementation of EdTech programs. So maybe to add on to what Mr. Masozi has said, maybe if anyone would want to add on to how they think policies in Tanzania can be helpful in uplifting EdTech programs in Tanzania.
Yeah, maybe because I first saw on the chat, this question was also directed to me. And Masozi has already spoken, and I think he has already touched some of the points. To me, I say that the policies around, they are supportive. Of course, they may be challenging also, but starting with the supporting side is that when I talk about policies, I would refer policies and frameworks and regulations and various institutional arrangements that the government has put to support this EdTech. Firstly, the EdTech started with digital use in the education, I think, which is easier. The ICT has been an enabler in every sector. Education is one of them, because it has been easier for ICT because there was infrastructure already. We did not need to buy towers for communication when you started developing your ICT solution. The computers were already there. So the companies like Vodacom, Tigo, they're already there. So it was easy for innovators to come up with apps or platforms or websites which they put materials and people can learn. So, but how did they come there? Is because the government put up policies to support ICT as an enabler in delivering services, one of them being education. For instance, we have like the ICT policies, the education policies, the SNP policies, R&D policies, all sort of things like in institutions like TCRA. Now we have the ICT Commission, and there was a move to turn the government, we call it e-government. So nowadays everything goes online. So those kind of things and the frameworks, the policies supported this, EdTech. So I can say the environment in Tanzania is better than some countries which are in Africa, which have been. And you see many people with smartphones, see, they can access. The only thing that is not much well emphasized is the other side of innovation, which is the product innovation, not the software part, the physical parts. Like now, like I said, the teaching aids, innovative teaching aids are part of education technologies. I do not know if you refer EdTech, you only refer digital technologies. Like I said in the beginning, we refer to both digital and other engineering innovations. So if you refer to that, then we COSTECH have a role to support tech development. So if we support teachers who come up with very innovative solutions, like I was in Dodoma this year, there was a person from VET, I think, was designed a mobile clinic for teaching practical subjects in the rural areas where the students don't have laboratories for practical studies. So those are innovative ways that he can move with that mobile laboratory from one school to another to teach electricity, solar systems, whatever. Those are things that we look at, not only online platforms for learning. So those things are able to be done because of the existing policies and many institutional frameworks. For the hindrance part, because of time, I can say yes, we have some challenges in some policies. For instance, if I become openly, it's the procurement policy in the country, Procurement Act. Sometimes you find an innovator with a very nice innovation, but a school cannot buy it because you have to go through the procurement process. So if we find many solutions in the country coming from abroad, while the national vision says we need to reduce importation, at the same time, we say you need to go to compete with other giants. So those are things which we continue to debate that and I thank God that the last regime agreed to put science and technology in the CCM manifesto. I'm very glad for that because we influenced that. At least the politicians can see the importance of science and technology, including this kind of EdTech. Because what we need to do is to create awareness, education, employment, and kind of those things. So slowly, these discussions are moving on, and we would like you to be also our ambassadors. Wherever you meet people, tell them you have ideas, but when you fail to penetrate them to the market because maybe of government procedures or government issues, please, let's all have one voice. And because when you speak and you speak, they will say, okay, fine, there is a need to come up together. But many of the hindrances have been trying to be tackled. And I'm glad that those few like procurement and some infrastructure issues, like some villages don't have access to maybe internet. You know, we are busy with our backbone internet, but some areas don't have access. So those are things that we try to solve, at least to make sure even your solutions like a online learning system can reach to even last mile villages. So to me, that's what I can say on the supportive role of the policy and frameworks and the hindrance role of the part of the policies and the procedures. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gerald Kafuku. Christina, you've raised your hand for a while. Please add on to what Dr. Gerald has said.
Yeah, so just to add on that, I think from our own experience of rolling out Ifahamu in primary schools across the nation, especially in the most remote areas, One of the biggest challenges that we've faced, and I think this is just a call for policies on ICT in education to be harmonized, especially when we're talking about ICT adaptations in schools and learning institutions, because you look at the cost that is incurred in terms of purchasing computer equipment and devices, especially for schools. The taxations on these equipments, especially when they're being used for learning, I think it needs to be reviewed to make it more easy for development partners, private sector, for those who want to roll out education in schools. We have a wide coverage of network. We've covered almost 90% of the population in Tanzania. But when we are rolling out these devices, you find schools that are unable to purchase these devices. And we can only do so much as a development partner or a private sector. So I think a policy review around taxation of devices, especially for learning institutions, needs a review. So that was just my addition.
Yeah, may I just react on that to give an advice to Smart Class and everybody here that you have the chance to influence policy and this kind of regulation issues. If you put up a kind of paper or policy brief, we can help you to convey that message, to give a platform to present and to assist you in delivering those kind of opinions. So please, if you have a kind of document or kind of policy recommendations, don't hesitate to approach us. We know we set the platforms, we set the regulations, we set the acts, the laws, but sometimes we may not feel how you are affected. So, and that's why COSTECH is a neutral institution. We serve every sector, so we don't have conflict of interest. So please, if you have kind of those things, I welcome you. Let's work together. We have a department for knowledge management here. They interact with very high level platforms in the country, including the ministers, the parliamentarians, the permanent secretaries. So if you have a solution, please, I urge you to share with us and to engage us.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dr. Gerald. See, such platforms help to unleash or discover such help, and this is what we aim for this platform. And when we bring together people from different sectors, different industries, mostly big government, to speak about such things, and there we can also speak about the challenges that are existing. And thank you, Dr. Gerald. You have pinpointed the specific areas that are actually happening and need to be looked at. So thank you for that. I saw Salvatore smiling, and yeah, really appreciate that. So on to our last question for today. I see also time has gone. In conclusion, would like to have a little bit of each one of your perspectives on this, and yeah, to just conclude. So we've discussed a lot about EdTech, and I'm sure this discussion can go on and on and on, and there's so much to unpack from this. So can you tell me from each of your perspectives, from a hub, from a development partner, from the corporate, that is Vodacom, from the government, from the startup, do you think EdTech is a one-size-fits-all? And then how do you make it personalized to the students? Mostly when it comes to inadequacy of access to the internet. I think some of the speakers mentioned that, and those with special needs. So we know even mostly in the villages, we have a lot of students from young age, from as early as 5 all the way to higher learning. They may not have necessary equipment, reach the internet and all that. So help us unpack that. In conclusion, you can give your views and also conclude on what should be done. Anyone who would like to start, to go first? Dr. Julia. Oh, sorry, Salvatore, I didn't see you. You'll be next.
Okay, so okay, so a bit of noise, so I don't know where it's coming from. So is it from my end?
Um,
Okay, I can go ahead. I don't think I hear the sound anymore.
yeah, go ahead, Julia, and then Salvatore.
Yeah, I would say that absolutely. I think EdTech is not one size fits all. I really love what Dr. Kafuku mentioned about going beyond apps and the digital. And I think that's one way we can make like physical teaching aids. I mean, the abacus is the historical example of EdTech. The abacus, you know, the balls that you move around. What is the African focused version of that we have to create? What are things that are cost effective that can make a really big impact within education? So I think if we're thinking about accessibility, especially with our existing infrastructure, it would be really critical to think beyond apps and software platforms, because that's just the reality. What could we do with just the things that we have? And then in terms of how we make it personalized towards students, I think we even need to go, a lot of the time when we think about EdTech, we think about teaching science and teaching like biology examples, but how do we teach artists how to do this? How do we go beyond the curriculum that we have and start teaching students critical thinking skills, how to actually think beyond that? So there's multiple ways we can personalize to student needs, but I'll just share one example, which is also related to what Mr. Masozi was mentioning about making sure that we have curriculum that is appropriate for our context. So our design studio is one of 7 around Africa, and we have created something called the Invention Education Toolkit. So this is a summary of findings, of lessons, of classwork, of how to train faculty, a complete toolkit of how to actually enact invention education, or making sure that students learn invention while they are part of their education. And I'm happy to share it with anyone who might be interested, but it's a very rich resource made by African faculty in Africa working towards changing the ways students are learning towards more practical digital skills learning. So I think EdTech is not one size fits all, and I think more innovation is required for us to go beyond our apps. They're wonderful, but we need to go bigger.
Thank you, Julia. That was a great insight. Over to you, Salvatore.
Okay, thanks again. Yeah, so despite the challenges that that were mentioned here, at least personally, I still stay very hopeful on the promise that the technology can bring to education. And especially at the smart class, our focus currently is more on trying as much as we can to mimic the physical learning experience, so that we may not deviate much from how students and teachers normally interact in classes. And we do this based on our past experience on how our platform have been running, and also trying to interact with both students and students, and see how we can incorporate the challenges that we see currently, things like the issue of internet, issue like the content that they're not relevant, and try to incorporate that in our platform so that we can make learning as smoothless as possible to both students and teachers. And in terms of personalization, I think that is a thing that is core at Smart Class, and we try as much as to appreciate that students, they have different learning capacity. And even in the future, what we envision is learning want to be more individualized rather than currently, which is like everyone learning the same stuff at a particular time. So we try to build some algorithms that really foster that. And from the very first time a student come to a platform, he or she is really matched to the content or the tutors that really match his or her interests. So I'll say in summary that we have seen the challenges, and these challenges will stay for some time. Things like internet costs, things like power. But what we're doing is we're trying to build a product that can coexist with these challenges at least. But again, in general, in a decade or so, I'm sure these challenges will go away, and the EdTech will actually be the best way whereby both teachers and students, they can either learn or teach without so much hassle as at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Salvatore. Next, Jamie Proctor. Would you like to give your contributions, final remarks, and conclude? What do you think? Is EdTech a one-size-fits-all?
Sure. Yeah. I feel like I've because my question was on challenges. I feel like I've been rather negative. I am very positive about the use of digital data and technology in education, and spending all of my time and energy trying to working with the government on trying to make it a reality. So yes, in answer to your question, is EdTech a one-size-fits-all? No, users are different. I think we'll probably all agree on that one. Seems like the previous speakers agreed. However, one thing that I will say that I do think is quite constant, and looking across digital services, is that if you put in the hard work and time and effort to make your product or service accessible to users with disabilities or impairments, it makes the service or product better for everybody. And it means that you get down to the kind of real difficult details and trade-offs in design, and both product design and service design, to make the product work across the board. And you can't often, well, you can often see just by how good the design is whether or not it is accessible, but you can't tell if something works for somebody that's blind until you put it through a screen reader, or you try it on a mobile phone with just the screen, the voice part turned on. And two websites that can look quite similar can be totally different. And so doing the hard work to make it simple for all users does benefit everybody. And so that's one thing that I do think stays standard across all of them. Stop that.
Thank you, Jamie. From our hub, Innovate Hub. Francis.
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so for me, of course, it can't be one size fits all, because there are different demographics of people. Talking about, maybe you have different factors who are looking at access to internet, also looking at the income level as well, also looking at the culture. And these are like a huge things that you have to consider when you're building EdTech. I like the whole idea about what Julia mentioned about the abacus or something. There are really places that we also have to go with, like, physical technologies, like, something that people there can actually use to practice physically and all of those things. I've worked with a couple of EdTechs. Somebody comes to the hub, like, I'm building something for someone in Ukerewe, and it's a mobile app. So, like, at that point, like, how does that really work for them? How do they really don't even have, like, they don't have the technology. Their parents don't even have a smartphone. Their parents are spending less than $10 in a term for their school activities and all that. So how does it really work? So it has to be very kind of tailored, very customized to say, maybe if I'm building something on maybe a mobile app or software or something, you have to be able to target the right people that have access to internet, and not just that, maybe also people that can actually pay. We can also be able to talk about, like, maybe people on low bandwidth, how we can be able to create something that is offline, that, they can actually be able to download and, walk through it. Or I've seen, like, something that one of the EdTech is doing in Nigeria is called ULesson. they can actually be able to send you like a whole toolkit, you know, to your place, and you have like a manual, you know, a manual you can use to kind of use those tools to be able to learn, maybe biology, whatever it's going to look like. So when we're developing EdTech solutions, we should actually be able to look at who are we developing it for, what do they have currently, how can we be able to utilize maybe the resources we have locally to be able to build something probably that is available for those people, and they can actually be able to afford, and they can actually be able to use in terms of accessibility. So that is key. And one of the biggest things that I've seen as well in terms of our population, maybe Jamie has a thought around that in terms of projects we are doing, is it could be most of the population, maybe like say in Tanzania, are maybe going to the government schools, they spend less money, the parents, especially in the rural areas, the parents don't understand, you know, they have to pay for some things online to learn and all that. So for EdTech startups that are building solutions for this kind of people, how would they be able to commercialize this? This is a very big issue in terms of sustainability. So my only advice like to EdTech founders is, you know, when you are building, you also have to kind of understand, who am I building for? Where are they currently? Do they have access in next 10 years? Will they have access to software or internet or whatever? Do I go in a different approach to meet them where they are currently and be able to change their culture, build their habits, and grow from there? So that is something that I feel we should be able to learn. For people going to become like, you know, EdTech founders, it's not just always about the software, it's not always about the app and all that. There are other ways that you can be able to build technologies that, you know, could be very interactive to the target audience you are building for, and can actually find a way to even monetize it. And it could be sustainable for you, and also very, very useful to the students and the teachers that you are developing it for. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Francis. Considering you interact directly with each other, which you mentioned something very important, that they need to reason or to create the solutions with the user in mind. Like, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Every user has their needs, mostly even in the villages. How do you reach out to them? You just don't come up with an app. Like, is it going to reach out the targeted user, and is it going to impact them? Yes, you can come up with technologies on how to improve education, but when it comes to connectivity, internet, access, all this becomes questionable. Thank you very much, Francis. I'd like to go to Christina from Vodacom. Kindly give your views and conclusion on what you think EdTech is. Is it a one-size-fits-all, and your experience on that?
Yeah, so I agree with all the panelists. EdTech cannot be a one-size-fits-all, or at least at best it shouldn't be. Yeah. So most of the digital solutions that we've seen, they offer the opportunity to tailor content in terms of the resources that are available and the delivery model that they offer. And we've seen from our experience as Vodacom, when we first launched our Ifahamu in 2017, actually, but in 2017 it was called Instant Schools. What we did is we rolled out, and it has been dynamic. We've been gathering user experiences, and we've tried to meet each of the needs of the students and the teachers that we've rolled out the product to. And if you look at some of the challenges that we've seen, for example, the issue of access, there are areas where they don't have internet, and you don't expect somebody in Marangu who doesn't have, who can't access the internet. They can't get a textbook to be able to buy a bundle to access Ifahamu. So we've been working on a solution that can offer some content offline, so that all you need is a device and you can log in and get offline content that doesn't require internet. And this has really helped to improve the uptake of Ifahamu among learners. We've seen that. The challenge of special needs students, I think this is a challenge that that all of us can think about. How do we provide content that meets the needs of special needs students? So I think this is a challenge even for us. So we're thinking about it, and we hope we'll get a solution to that. Also on the issue of access, we've seen collaboration work for us. For example, we collaborated with UCSAF to go into the areas that are at least accessible in terms of internet, to make sure that where they are providing communication towers, that's where we go. So we've seen partnership and collaboration actually working for us to address that challenge. So my conclusion remarks would be to say that as far as EdTech in Tanzania goes, collaboration partnership is key. You've seen I have been able to highlight some of the challenges that we are facing and already got a solution here. Through COSTEX. So I urge all of us to just speak to collaboration and partnership. I'm sure we'll find a solution to all these challenges that the sector is currently facing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Christina. You have mentioned a very, very important point. Collaboration. That is very much needed. Like I think in any field or sector, when you're trying to come up with something, create something, I think it's important to collaborate with all the key people that need to make that thing meaningful and also be much more needed or ready for the user. And I think with all these people that are here today, the panelists, we can all agree to that. Even from a hub perspective, you have programs and even the startups themselves to create something that is going to work for the user. You all need to partner. You need to find someone who will help you implement that idea or the program that you have. I believe Jamie can also agree to that. Development partners, yeah. Thank you very much, Christina. Lastly, we'd like to hear from the government perspective. Dr. Gerald, you're welcome. And that can be teamed up with Mr. Masozi as well. You can share your contribution on that.
Thank you very much. To me, I say yes, like they have said, the one that doesn't fit, or I don't know how you say it, but this digital technologies for education, most of them have been successful in the lower levels, in primary schools and secondary schools, I think, to create content and put them in the internet. But there's something that we would like to share with you as I'm concluding as a government, that we have a problem in the country we would love to solve, to inspire many youth or students to take STEM subjects, science, tech, and engineering and mathematics, because we have a problem. We have inadequate tooling experts. I think you know tooling experts. Tooling experts, this means a person who can fabricate, cast, weld at a very high quality. We don't have much here. That's why people come in the country and take our jobs. It has been a cry. So these companies come with the experts. So that cry, I think, maybe digital technologies like EdTech can inspire the youth in the universities, colleges, because I believe in the universities and colleges, many of the students do have smartphones. Now, I'm not talking about the primary school, okay, in the rural areas. At least we can help us in the high level. I mean, in the higher classes, like universities and the colleges. For instance, I used to watch National Geographic. There are these programs like How It's Made, How We Invented the World. I mean, all the manufacturing sessions. Those videos inspired their citizens to take these subjects. But I've never seen those kind of things in Tanzania. So you can be the first. If you want kind of copyright permissions, maybe the government can help, can enter into collaborations. For example, I can inform you that we are allowed to use any technology for national development for free, even if it's protected, but you do not have capacity for reverse engineering. Why? We do not have enough tooling experts. So please, if you can use your platforms to create these short films, inspiring films, to distribute it to university students, engineering, they can see how maybe an engine is manufactured, how a tire is manufactured, how food is processed. You see, those kind of things that can inspire. They are not part of the curriculum, but at least it's extracurricular issues. So instead of them watching YouTube and kind of those music, maybe they can watch this kind of technologies. And I don't think most universities do have a TV programs to show those kind of National Geographic or Discovery channels. They're expensive. So please, that's my cry. If you can use these digital technologies to create content which can inspire people to take STEM, I think you can even I can even welcome you to our office to look for financial support if we can convince the minister. I think we can do that. So please, I welcome you for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gerald. I think you raised a very good point. I even see Julia smiling to that because it's relating to her, and I know maybe I will allow her to say something if she has to. But Julia, do you want to say something on what Gerald has said?
Yes, I would like to just say that if you're looking for fabricators, I have almost 1,000 in the TIT Design Studio. We have students who are capable of welding, using 3D printing, laser cutting, computer-aided design to make products. And we have over 100 prototypes sitting on our shelves waiting for regulatory work. We can't get them through the regulators. So please, I think we definitely should converse after this and ensure that we get these excellent fabricators to the next level.
Great. And even find a way of how to showcase these things that our own Tanzanians have made so that we can even inspire other upcoming founders or scientists to take these STEM subjects, as Dr. Gerald has mentioned, because when others see what their fellow Tanzanians have done or they have created, they get inspired and be like, oh, so we can create such great innovations in our country. And then they'll be able to, come up with such also. Yeah, great contributions from each one of you. I don't know if we have any from Mr. Masozi.
Yeah, what I'll say that I concur with most of the things which Dr. Kafuku has said. And I think I would like to emphasize on the issue of collaboration, working together, because one of the things which I think it has been mentioned here is, I think also Jamie has mentioned, is an issue of coordination among players or among stakeholders who are implementing EdTech. And if everyone works in a silos individually, then I think most of the things, even some of the policy advocacy will not be very effective. So working in collaboration will be very effective. As also Dr. Kafuku has said that the government has been working, has created a conducive environment to work with the private sector or other individuals and companies and so on. I would like to give you an example of Tanzania Education Authority, whereby we are working with private sector, but also government sector through the Skill Development Fund, whereby we have been supporting various training institutions at the level of skill development, vocational training, and so on, to develop various innovations, including using of ICT in the teaching and learning process. And currently, we are also in the process of working with the World Bank we are developing a project on the innovative training and e-learning, basically on how we can support the growth of innovation, but also supporting e-learning within the country. Because in the levels, for example, on vocational training, you find very few institutions are offering e-learning courses. But also across the board. You'll find that of institution whereby most of the training institutions developed e-learning training platforms so that the students can continue with learning out of the institution. But we'd like to have this kind of platform continuous, and it's not only for addressing COVID-19 challenges, but should be sustainable and could also be another avenue for people to obtain skills within the country. So to work with the private sector and individual successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Masozi. And yeah, so I think each one of you has given contribution regarding to what field they're in, and which are all very, very insightful. And this discussion has been quite productive and impactful, and I'm sure our attendees have learned a lot. There is still so much to be done in EdTech, and we can even attest to that. We conducted a program back then when COVID just hit the whole world. We were forced to shut down and conduct everything online, digitally. And yeah, we had several programs that were working with students as well. And also this impacted us in a way that we had to move everything online, even how to conduct the trainings and lessons and all that. But we experienced a lot of challenges managing the students to get them to participate in the online classes. It was a hassle. First of all, some of them were in remote areas. Some had closed schools, so no access to stable internet, but also bundles and all that. So there are challenges to be looked at, and also like what everyone said, collaboration. When we collaborate, when we have programs, even when it comes to creating solutions, when we partner, when we collaborate, I believe we're going to reach somewhere, and we're going to improve the EdTech industry in Tanzania, including all other innovations. So thank you very much, each one of you. This has been very good. Would like to end our discussion, and this was our 9th edition of Founder to Founders, but we usually conduct these events quarterly each year. So this was to end the year, and we'll have more in the coming year. We usually have different topics to discuss in the innovation ecosystem. We have different partners, like what we have done right now in different fields. So this one was talking about EdTech, but we can talk about agriculture, we can talk about finance, we can talk about scaling, growth, science, and all that, you name it. So we just want to have a platform where different stakeholders can discuss, come up with solutions, and also a platform to interact, network, and partner. You know, you never know in this platform, like in this event, discover that I think I need to talk to Dr. Gerald about a specific solution or a specific program that we're doing. Or I think I need to reach out to Christina from Vodacom Foundation. Or I think I need to speak to Jamie from British High Commission. So all this is to connect everyone together to create meaningful collaborations and eventually create meaningful programs and solutions that will impact our communities. Yeah, so we are a Smart Lab. We usually host a number of events, and we also have other programs that we do. We have startup programs, accelerator programs, we do skill development programs, and so forth. So without wasting much of your time, I think it's already late. We'd like to thank each and every one of you in the panel, and because of time, we do not have questions, but we're going to share, if you're okay, we can share the contacts with the attendees. If they want to reach out to you, they can reach out to you privately if they have any questions. And yeah, we can continue the discussions outside this session. And also, if you have anything to ask, or if you want to reach out to Smart Lab and know more of what we do, feel free to reach out to us, me or Melissa. We'll be gladly to help you. Melissa, do you have anything to add?
No, not really. I just want to thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you for your time. And also, as she said, this has been a very good and impactful discussion. So after we finish this discussion, I will be sharing each of the panelists' contacts with you, if that is okay with you, so that we may get to have these discussions, not only just on platforms like this, but we can also continue the discussion further and see how we can be able to grow this sector and how we can be able to make impact. So thank you so much for your time. I know this is Friday. This is a time whereby people would want to go and rest. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend. Good night.
And just to add on that,
Thank you
if
very
some
much.
of you are not following our social channels, please follow us so that you can get to know our next event. When is it happening? We would like to have you participate in our other upcoming events. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the session.
Thank you and have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Good evening.